Thanks for stopping by, guys, and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic. Now today we're going to be looking at a project I worked on in a stream. This video is actually quite delayed from the stream itself because of a glitch that was occurring. And some of you might notice, if you were here during the stream, you might notice it does look a bit different, but at the end of the day it actually functions exactly the same. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the new 3D printer. This thing. So when I did the 5x5 printer, people immediately wanted more. Especially they wanted it to be bigger, they wanted to have more features, be able to do more, and that's what this was hoping to accomplish. Now how it does this is it works through a cartridge-based system. So this is a cartridge with a full block. There's one with glass, one with cardboard. Let's go to the one with glass, and as you can see, switches down here. Each layer works independently. And probably what you're thinking first off is, if they're independent layers, how does it make a solid structure? So if I go ahead and grab a cartridge real quick, just glass one will be fine. Grab my weld tool. When you're done with it on the 3D printer, you put it on your lift and you can just take your weld tool and easily make these slices into a solid object. Let me grab the last few. Once it's a solid object, you can disconnect it from the cartridge. Now I have a solid block of glass. That's not really the point of this. If you could just make a solid block of glass, it'd be easier just to build it than it would be to 3D print it. And that's where these come in. These are blueprints. These work in the layer system as well. One downside to these is when building, you do have to make sure that you build it in specific layers. You have to base your design around it. So we're going to grab this one. This is our first one. This was our blueprint test. So this is the first one I made to make sure that the system actually worked. Let's grab a cartridge and throw it up there on that side. When welding these, the red block goes in the center of each of these, and the bolts around the outside prevent you from welding it anywhere else. Hopefully you don't accidentally weld it directly to it, so you don't have to start breaking things. Go ahead and press this button here. Light turns green. Each layer goes up. On this side it gets scanned. On this side it gets replicated. Now this cartridge makes an X, an O, a hollow cube, or not really a hollow cube, but a hollow box, and then a three-dimensional heart. Each one of these is kind of its own separate thing, but it was intended to test a lot of different aspects of the printers, a lot of different things I needed the printer to be able to do. So when we get done, we can go ahead and take our weld tool. Take our lift off. I guess I could have deleted this before I took the lift down. It seems to have been easier if I didn't take the lift down. There we go. Now we've got our X, which didn't stay on my lift for some reason. We've got our O. And we've got hollow box, which was one of the big improvements with this printer because it works in a layer-based system. The old printer can only see from the sides of the object. This one can see the top, the bottom, inside. You can actually have insides, which is what the house there demonstrates. So there's a house, a car, and then my logo. You can go ahead and grab this heart. If you wanted to, you could paint all these up. So let's go ahead and paint the heart real quick, just so it looks a bit nicer. It'd help if I turned it around so we actually can see the 3D part of it. Give it a nice red paint. And let's give it a little white sparkle because for some reason that always looks nice. We have a little 3D printed heart, a box, and an X and an O. Let's go ahead and detach this blueprint here and we'll get the other ones up there. The next one we'll be looking at is the house. House here. Now, the 3D printer can't do things like bearings in specific blocks like seats and engines and things like that. But I almost forgot to grab a cartridge. There we go. But they can be easily added afterwards with just placing them down and welding parts to it, which was part of what I tested with this design. As you kind of saw right there, there's a random thing. That is a door. That is a door that gets printed on the inside of the house with a bit of support material holding it in. You delete that support material and you can easily weld it to a bearing to create the front door of the house. And I'm afraid of what might just happened. And it appears it did. There was a glitch that occurred during the stream that this happened. One of the layers just for some reason doesn't print right. All of the spuds fire, all the logic works. It just happens at random. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Oh, you're welded to the ground. I forgot you're welded to the ground. I'm going to throw this one away and actually grab the original printer. Delete, yes. I don't think I actually saved that, so there's no reason to save it. It's X15 printers. This is the Mark II. This is the original one that worked. And this actually has the shell taken off, so you can see a bit of logic. Doesn't really need to be welded down, so we're not going to bother with it. Take this one off. This is the original test cartridge. Once again, I have no clue why that actually happens. It happened to... Oh, I deleted the house cartridge. Oops. Let me grab it, or the house blueprint. It happened in the stream at random. I don't know why. I've looked at the logic, and all the logic functions like it should. It just doesn't destroy all the blocks when the spuds actually hit. Let's grab a empty cartridge. I guess this allows us to take a look at what's going on behind the scenes. So back here, the start button's back here, and it basically goes through a cycle where it lifts up, shoots, lifts up, shoots. And these are all set to a second with a 1.5 second ping that goes through here, which means that at any given point, 2 of them are active. So one layer is up and a shot gets put off, and then the next layer gets put up, the shot gets put off, so and so on. These down here are simply done to send a pulse, a two-stage pulse. The first stage sends the layer up. When the signal is turned off, it sends another one, which brings it back down. System's printed. It's printed fine. As you can see, the windows are correct. On this one over here, you'll notice the windows are not correct, and there's a random thing sticking out of the roof. So let's delete this, grab the house, do our little weld trick that we did before. Go ahead and delete this bottom layer so we can detach the house. And we will need a few things to get this thing finished. So we will need a bearing, a switch, and a controller. Go ahead and throw a bearing down. A little bit of paint. Come in here, grab our door. And let's knock the door over. There we go. Weld it, bearing or controller, switch, quickly hook everything up. You need to go this way, and we now have a house with a front door. So there's your front window, you've got a downstairs, a little cubby behind the stairway. You come up the stairs, you got some windows up near the roof. And to get all the way up here, you do have to crouch because it is a little cramped as a 15 by 15 area. But you do have a house with a full upstairs, downstairs, and doors, including windows. through a 3D printer. That was one of my goals. One of my goals was to make a 3D printer that could 3D print a house. And I achieved it. Now we're going to save that one for last because it's actually my favorite. This is someone wanted me to do my logo. So I did do my logo. It doesn't look the best. It's pretty small. But it does print a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional logo. So we might as well do it. This one we're going to do in glass. Just for the sake of saving that last cardboard one for... I don't know if I've said what it is yet. I think I might have, but I'm not going to say it now just in case I haven't. I got to run around the back to turn this on. Which is unfortunate because that other printer was working and then I'm not sure why it stopped. Actually, the rest of this whole thing's solid, so it doesn't really even matter. I could turn it off, but I'm not going to because I'm afraid that might actually mess something up. It was designed to turn itself off once it goes through the entire sequence, so I'd probably mess something up by trying to force it to stop. Now that I think about it, this would be a good way to store like a movie. Store it like this as a physical representation. I just had a really good idea. But because this is 2 layers, we only need to weld those. I'm not going to worry about the rest of it. Disconnect. And we can bring this over here with the rest of our little creations. Grab a little paint. Let's go. I forget how my logo actually looks. One moment. There we go. That's how my logo looks. I forgot which ones were orange and which ones were red there for a second. So red here, orange here, and then a little gray in the background. I go for darker gray on that. Ta-da! Oh, that one didn't get painted apparently. There we go. So we got the red, orange, and gray background. This kind of looks weird with the glass. But the last one we're going to do is that. This one, I'm not sure if I've said it yet, is a car, a 3D printable car with all the parts except for, of course, the bearings, the engines, and the seats ready to go. So let's go grab this last cardboard cartridge. I didn't want to do this one in glass just because it looks really weird in glass. It's kind of an invisible car, as the joke is. There we go. We have to go around to turn it on. And here you can see the logic as it works. You can see the shape on the left appear. A pulse gets sent for the fire. There we go. Sequence is done. We can detach this. Grab our weld tool. Now for this one we are going to need a 3-wide seat, some bearings, and an electric engine. Let's go ahead and delete. All the parts come falling off. And now bearings. Bearings will go here, here, there, and there. Go and paint these up because I know someone's going to yell at me for it in the comments if I don't. I already know that because someone yelled at me while I was streaming. You know who you are. Go ahead and put on the back tires. Now, where are they? There we are. These little cubes are meant for the steering. Here's the other one. Put the bearings on these now. Originally, this car actually had square wheels instead of plus wheels, but after some experimentation, we decided that plus wheels worked a lot better than the square wheels did. Now we can start putting in the other things like the seat and the engine. Seat just fits in here. You could maybe fit 2 seats if I redesigned it slightly. The engine goes in a little engine compartment here. Now you just have to hook everything up. Steering. And I think this goes up to the setting. I think we can go one more than that. There we go. Now I have a 3D printed car. So everything's 3D printed except for the bearings, the seat, and the engine. The wheels and the turning mechanism and everything is 3D printed. I know someone's gonna say that's not 3D printing, that's more of laser cutting, but I know of some 3D printers that actually work in a similar fashion to this. So maybe not technically 3D printing, but I still will argue it either way. So I am going to end it here. Unfortunately, that bug, that error in Scrap Mechanics showed up. As you can see, the first one I printed, which was the test print, worked fine, and I printed the house and it didn't work. I'm not sure what causes it. I wish it didn't happen, but unfortunately it did. So I am going to end it here. If you did enjoy this little creation, please leave a like. Any suggestions, leave in the comments down below. Join the channel, enjoy what I'm doing. Please subscribe, it helps a lot. And right now, shares help the channel the most. So do you want to help the channel, please share this episode with a friend. Thanks for stopping by, thanks for sticking around, and until next time, peace.